Welcome to KL Warfront, where we uncover the hidden strategies and military tactics that define the modern battlefield era. Distance no longer guarantees safety.
Information dominance defines modern conflict.
While a destroyer can easily sink one or two boats, facing 300 simultaneously creates a saturation point for its defenses. The United States Navy possesses the most powerful fleet in history, capable of projecting overwhelming force to any corner of the globe. With nuclear-powered aircraft carriers and advanced destroyers, they seem invincible, a floating fortress. However, in the narrow and dangerous waters of the Persian Gulf, a different kind of warfare is being meticulously prepared today. The mere threat of mines creates a psychological barrier, forcing the U.S. Navy to proceed with extreme caution and reduced speed. While the U.S. has advanced mine countermeasure capabilities, the sheer volume of mines in such a narrow channel presents a logistical nightmare. Some of these vessels are designed for suicide missions, packed with high explosives to detonate upon impact with the ship's hull. This is the story of asymmetric warfare, where a regional power plans to confront a global superpower using unconventional and deadly tactics. Iran knows it cannot match the United States ship for ship, so they have developed a doctrine based on surprise and saturation. Let us begin with the first and perhaps most visible tactic, known in military circles simply as the swarm strategy.
These boats are fast, agile, and difficult for the targeting systems of large destroyers to track and engage effectively in close quarters.
Imagine hundreds of small, fast attack craft launching from hidden coves simultaneously, all converging on a single high-value target at once.
The concept is simple but deadly. Overwhelm the enemy's defensive systems by presenting more targets than they have ammunition to counter.
While a destroyer can easily sink one or two boats, facing 300 simultaneously creates a saturation point for its defenses.
These small vessels are often equipped with heavy machine guns, unguided rockets, and even shoulder-fired anti-aircraft missiles to harass helicopters.
The geography of the Persian Gulf, with its many islands and inlets, provides the perfect hiding spots for these mosquito fleets. They wait silently for the signal, ready to turn the calm waters into a chaotic kill zone within a matter of minutes.
By targeting the bridge, radar arrays, and sensors, the swarm aims to blind the giant before moving in for the kill. Moving beneath the surface, we encounter the second deadly tactic, the strategic deployment of thousands of advanced naval mines.
Mines are cost-effective, psychological weapons that can paralyze an entire fleet without a single shot being fired by a ship.
The Strait of Hormuz is a critical choke point for global energy, and mining it would effectively hold the world economy hostage.
Modern mines are not just floating metal balls. They are smart devices capable of distinguishing between military vessels and civilian traffic.
These weapons can be deployed by submarines, small boats, or even disguised civilian vessels.
A single mine costing a few $1,000s can severely damage a billion-dollar warship, forcing it out of the combat zone. Clearing a minefield is a slow, dangerous, and methodical process that would halt any rapid American naval advance in the region. The mere threat of mines creates a psychological barrier, forcing the U.S. Navy to proceed with extreme caution and reduced speed.
While the U.S. has advanced mine countermeasure capabilities, the sheer volume of mines in such a narrow channel presents a logistical nightmare.
Some mines sit on the bottom, waiting for the magnetic or pressure signature of a specific class of ship to pass overhead.
Rising from the sea to the land, we examine the third tactic, the exploitation of the coastal geography to create a kill zone. The entire northern coast of the Persian Gulf is lined with rugged mountains and caves, offering perfect cover for mobile missile batteries. Truck-mounted anti-ship missiles can emerge from hidden tunnels, fire a salvo, and disappear back underground before they can be targeted.
These missiles fly at sea-skimming altitudes, staying below the radar horizon until the very last moment to reduce reaction time.
From swarming speedboats to silent submarines, these methods are designed to exploit the specific vulnerabilities of large, expensive capital ships.
When a missile is detected only seconds before impact, The ship's automated defenses are pushed to their absolute physical and computational limits.
The shallow, noisy waters of the Gulf make sonar detection extremely difficult.
The goal is not necessarily to win a traditional naval battle, but to inflict such heavy losses that the enemy retreats.
Some drones are equipped with electronic warfare packages designed to jam communications and blind the radar systems of enemy ships. Beyond kinetic strikes, cyber attacks on the power and water infrastructure of host nations could make the bases untenable.
Join us as we analyze how geography and technology combine to create a nightmare scenario for any invading naval force today.
The geographical reality creates a scenario where there is no safe water. Every inch of the Gulf is within missile range.
Beyond cruise missiles, the arsenal includes ballistic missiles designed to strike moving ships from above with hypersonic speed and devastating kinetic energy.
Decoys and false targets are scattered throughout the mountains to confuse intelligence and waste the enemy's limited supply of precision bombs. For satellites and reconnaissance planes, finding a camouflaged truck in thousands of square miles of rocky terrain is like finding a needle. A coordinated volley from multiple locations can saturate a fleet's air defense network, ensuring that at least some missiles penetrate. Deep in the shallow waters, we find the fourth component of this asymmetric strategy, the fleet of Ghadir-class midget submarines. Unlike massive nuclear submarines designed for the open ocean, these small vessels are specifically engineered for the shallow Persian Gulf. They can sit silently on the sea floor, powered down, waiting for days, like a predator waiting for its prey to pass. These submarines are armed with high-speed torpedoes, capable of breaking the backs of frigates and destroyers with a single well-placed hit.
Their small size allows them to operate in coastal inlets and straits where larger American submarines simply cannot physically enter.
Besides torpedoes, these subs can deploy combat divers to attach limpet mines to ships anchored in harbors or disrupt underwater cables. By positioning themselves at critical choke points, they create a gauntlet that every enemy vessel must pass through at great risk. Despite their small size and uncomfortable conditions for the crew, they represent a significant technological achievement in localized naval defense. Their ability to quickly dive and hide in the acoustic clutter of the Gulf makes hunting them a frustrating game of cat and mouse. Taking the battle to the skies, we analyze the fifth and most rapidly evolving tactic, the mass deployment of combat drones. Taking the battle to the skies, we analyze the fifth and most rapidly evolving tactic, the mass deployment of combat drones. Iran has developed a vast arsenal of unmanned aerial vehicles, ranging from surveillance craft to deadly loitering munitions known as suicide drones.
These drones act as poor man's cruise missiles, offering a cheap way to deliver explosives with high precision over long distances.
A swarm of 50 cheap drones can force a billion-dollar destroyer to expend its entire magazine of expensive interceptor missiles within minutes. Surveillance drones provide real-time targeting data for coastal missile batteries, closing the loop between detection and destruction. Some drones are equipped with electronic warfare packages designed to jam communications and blind the radar systems of enemy ships.
The Shah series of drones has proven its effectiveness on other battlefields, capable of avoiding radar by flying low and slow.
Even a small explosion on the flight deck of a carrier can cause a fire that halts all air operations for hours. While the US is developing laser weapons to counter this threat, the technology is still maturing and cannot yet handle mass swarms.
Underground drone cities have been built to protect these assets from airstrikes, ensuring a second strike capability remains intact.
Drones can also be launched from converted merchant ships, extending their range and allowing attacks to come from unexpected directions.
Finally, we look at the strategic targeting of logistics, focusing on the American bases in Qatar, Bahrain, and the UAE.
The U.S. military presence relies heavily on forward bases like Al Udeid for fuel, ammunition, and command and control operations.
Iran possesses the largest arsenal of ballistic missiles in the Middle East, specifically designed to strike these static targets with precision. raining missiles down on these bases. They aim to cut the supply lines that keep the American war machine running. Without constant resupply of jet fuel and spare parts, the effectiveness of a carrier strike group degrades rapidly within days.
Although these bases are protected by Patriot missile batteries, a saturated attack involving hundreds of missiles could overwhelm the shield.
The disruption caused by constant missile alerts would paralyze operations, forcing personnel into bunkers instead of launching aircraft.
Beyond kinetic strikes, cyber attacks on the power and water infrastructure of host nations could make the bases untenable.
When combined, these 6 tactics create a multi-layered defense that attacks the enemy from the sea, air, land, and cyberspace. The mighty U.S. fleet, designed for open ocean dominance, finds itself in a claustrophobic cage fight where its advantages are neutralized.
Asymmetric warfare is about changing the rules of the game, ensuring that superior firepower does not guarantee a swift victory.
The ultimate goal is to make the cost of war,
both in human lives and economic stability, too high for the West to bear.
Political pressure at home, fueled by high gas prices and military casualties, becomes a weapon just as potent as any missile.
This reality forces the U.S. Navy to operate further from shore, limiting the effectiveness of their aircraft and response times. Military planners know that entering the Persian Gulf during a conflict is a calculated risk with potentially catastrophic consequences.
For the sailors on both sides, the Persian Gulf remains one of the most tense and dangerous workplaces on Earth.
The standoff in these waters is a delicate balance of terror, where a single miscalculation could ignite a massive war. Yet, global commerce continues to flow, relying on the assumption that deterrence will hold and cooler heads will prevail. Thank you for watching KL Warfront. Subscribe for more deep dives into the strategies shaping our world's future.
World War II was not just a battle of armies, but a catastrophic collision that unleashed the worst of human nature. Few regions on Earth hold as much strategic weight as this narrow body of water.
Iran's significance begins with geography, long before ideology or modern conflict.
There was a time when Iran and the United States were partners, not rivals.
Geography made Iran unavoidable, long before ideology ever did.
In the early Cold War, Iran was not an enemy of the United States.
Iran chose democracy, and democracy chose control over its own oil.
Oil was not just fuel, it was leverage. For the West, this was not nationalism, it was a threat. Washington feared one thing more than lost profits: losing Iran to the Soviet sphere.
So the United States chose intervention over uncertainty.
Operation Ajax removed a government without a single American soldier.
Iran's democracy ended quietly, but the memory did not.
Iran became a pillar of American influence in the region.
Development accelerated, but stability was an illusion.
Security replaced consent. Fear replaced trust.
Every suppressed voice became stored pressure.
Religion became the language of resistance.
Iran fractured into two realities. Modern on the surface, furious underneath.
History rarely explodes. It accumulates.
When force hesitates, systems collapse. Iran was reborn on its own terms. To many Iranians, the embassy symbolized control, not diplomacy.
From Iran's view, America was no longer distant. Naval power projected certainty, but also fear.
What happens when history meets rage?
The hostage crisis shocked the world, but not Iran.
For Tehran, this was not terrorism. It was revenge.
For Washington, it was humiliation.
Military power could not undo political history. Diplomacy collapsed. Suspicion replaced dialogue.
The Islamic Republic hardened under pressure.
From this moment, Iran was no longer a partner.
Energy, geography, and memory locked Iran into global strategy.
One narrow strait now carried the weight of the world's economy.
The conflict was no longer ideological. It was structural.
And this was only the beginning. What happens when fear becomes doctrine?
History shifted when trust collapsed.
A single crisis shattered relations and created a wound that never fully healed.
From that moment forward, pressure replaced partnership.
Economic warfare became the primary instrument, designed to coerce change without open conflict. Security concerns pushed sensitive programs underground, out of sight, but not out of mind.
Technology, once civilian in purpose, became a strategic question.
Negotiations emerged as a pause in escalation, built not on trust, but calculation.
When agreements fail, timelines compress.
Surveillance replaces certainty.
When diplomacy weakens, military planning resumes.
Our projection depends on access.